This is a tool a conflict negotiator or arbitrator uses. This is what they do. They'll take the information that both sides of the conflict are providing, and they will use, so this is used out of Harvard. This is, they take this tool, and I've used it, I've truncated a little bit to make it a little bit easier for us to access individually, but this is what they'll do when they look at two sides to a conflict. The most important part for a conflict negotiator is to really have a diagnostic of the conflict from both sides. If you're inside the conflict, how do you really understand the emotions of the other person? It's really, really difficult. You take the information that you best receive. I'm going to talk about some of this. It's actually unrelated. It's more to thinking on your feet. But you can take components like the paraverbal, verbal, body language, personal space. These are 4 components of how you can read somebody, not just based on what they're saying, but also other indicators to indicate their emotions and values, how they're interacting with the team. Part of this is that you will get information. It will not be organized in this way, in terms of you have to do the work in organizing it. And it will not be complete a lot of the time. And so the next question is, can you get that information? Can you use the third side, which is people outside of the conflict, to maybe fill in this chart? Could you directly ask? Could you find other mechanisms to help you fill this out? This is part of a negotiation conflict management strategy, this diagnostic tool. It's used in this way. And so, again, one of the things is if you were to get a formal arbitrator or negotiator in a conflict, someone outside of this, they would use this diagnostic tool because they need to really understand what's happening before they go into the next thing. And the biggest thing is that you're writing it down. You're not thinking about it. It's not a thought. You've put it down on the paper, and now you can actually build up an archive of things. So that's a really important takeaway from this. But this is where the self-assessment comes from. We need to understand ourselves when we come into a conflict. What is the thing that we bring into a conflict? And there's 2 components of this. Assertiveness, basically how much do you like to tell people what to do? How much do you direct information versus the lower side to assertiveness, how much do you ask questions or do you get directed? And then cooperation, which can also be a form of how much do you see yourself cooperating inside the conflict versus how much you like to go in it on your own. And this builds up 5 styles of conflict. To make this tool work, though, this is a critical thing. You really need to understand what style or styles you use. And you might be able to do this by just looking at the styles and the descriptive, but this is something you want to be self-aware over time. Some of us think we have our style down, and really we need a little bit more work to figure out what that style is. And it could be dependent on the situation. So I'll talk about each of these 5 styles: competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. Those are all of the 5 styles. And I'll talk about them each and give examples of each of those.